What is up, expats and travelers alike? I'm Josh with Expats Everywhere.
And I'm Kalie.
And we are live here to talk to you today about Porto and Lisbon. We're going to compare the two. We're going to talk about how FC Porto just clinched the league
by beating Benfica, which is a team in Lisbon.
And if you can hear a bunch of background noise, a bunch of honking, that isn't normal. We don't necessarily live on a super busy street. People are celebrating, and that's just how you celebrate whenever you've won the league.
And Sia is in her bed kicking and saying honk honk still, so hopefully she falls asleep soon.
Woo. All right, so if you guys don't know, we are Josh and Kalie with Expats Everywhere, and we have been living in Portugal for a year and a half now. We have mainly based ourselves, not even mainly, we've based ourselves in Porto. It is the city that we love, but we are going to try to be as objective as possible when it comes to comparing these two. I'm sure that there are differing opinions with people that are going to be in the comment section, and we are certainly welcome to that. But as soon as you guys get in here and start popping in your questions, we will answer them. And Kalie, do you want to start off by talking a little bit about the project in Lisbon and some things that you noticed about Lisbon that you hadn't considered before?
Sure. So as a lot of you know, we were in Lisbon for the whole month of April, and the point was to go down there, do content, be there for a little bit, figure out the neighborhoods, do a breakdown for you, do some collaborations and things like that. So we were down there for the month, kind of staying in these different neighborhoods that we're going to feature. And we've been to Lisbon before several times. A long time ago, before we actually lived here, we had traveled there a few times. And then since we've been in Portugal, we've been there a few times as well. And we're Porto people. We prefer Porto for a lot of reasons. But we have a lot of friends who live in Lisbon and they prefer Lisbon instead, which totally makes sense. It's all about personal preference. So if you are like, which one should I choose? There are a lot of factors to take into consideration. So I would say one thing that I really noticed while being down there is down in the touristy area, which is kind of the iconic look with the trams and the hills and the cobblestones. Like, it is very busy through there. And when you go through there, that's not just what Lisbon has to offer. And so for me, that's, and for lack of a better term, that's the worst part of Lisbon for me. There's just a lot of tourists. It's hard to navigate with the hills. You have narrow sidewalks, and of course with the stroller, it's difficult with people coming, at you and everything. So for me, that's the area of Lisbon that I actually don't like very much. But while we were down there, I did like to go to some of the other neighborhoods that were a bit more local and a bit more livable. And I thought there are places in Lisbon that I could live. Now, the caveat is, would it take us away from Porto? Do I love it that much that I would move from Porto to Lisbon?
Spoiler, no.
Yeah, but there are definitely livable places around Lisbon. And you?
Yeah, a huge takeaway that I had is that I think you already touched on it a bit, but I think that a lot of people will go there for tourism. And what will happen is they will visit. I'm going to use both Lisbon and Porto in this example. They will visit the touristy areas of Lisbon or Porto and think that that is the city. Like that is all there is to the city. When in reality, if you get out of the tourist centers of both cities, there are some really amazing places to live. And if you're living there and then can on a weekly basis slide into the tourist centers that you fell in love with whenever you were on vacation there, which is maybe why you moved to that city, I think that would be a better quality of life.
Yeah, definitely.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. And or either go to those areas or avoid those areas if they were, too touristy for you, or too many people, or too hilly, or whatever it might have been that you're like, I didn't like that part of the city. There are other parts of the city for both Lisbon and Porto that can offer different things. And so it's true that a lot of people will go to the touristy areas and think that that's what the whole city is about. But Lisbon is huge. I would say that's one thing that we knew, but it's just even glaring every time you go down there. It is a big city. Which makes Porto seem even smaller. Even though Porto is a city, it seems small to us.
Yep. I started to learn it much better. I felt like I was able to navigate on foot in a really innate way.
In
Lisbon.
Yeah.
I don't know the streets as well as I do Porto in terms of the names of streets. Like now when people ask me directions, I can just start to give names of streets, turn on to this or that. But in Lisbon, I can't do that yet. I didn't really learn those. But I think the navigation of Lisbon is not so bad. One big takeaway that I had, especially kind of towards the end, was there's this similarity that I think I didn't notice before whenever we lived in Madrid and visited Lisbon for the first time to actually Madrid. So I think Lisbon and Madrid are very similar in many things. They're both capital cities, but there's this feel, this atmosphere, this grandness of both cities that are very apparent. Porto does not have a grand feeling. Porto felt very small to me after spending a month in Lisbon.
Yeah, I agree, because even for us, we were talking about the different neighborhoods. To get to these neighborhoods, you have to walk a lot or you have to use public transportation. Whereas on a daily basis in Porto, we are in and out of 3-4 different neighborhoods easily by just walking. And you just couldn't do that in Lisbon because of the grandness. Something else too, the buildings in Lisbon are just big and beautiful and majestic. And there are big buildings in Porto, but it just, the look is very different. So I did notice that as well.
Yeah, for sure. We have a question from Kurt about he's going to be visiting Porto and Lisbon in early August, looking for information in Porto for new construction, as he'll potentially be retiring there.
Yeah.
If you would like to shoot me an email, I can get you in contact with an agent that typically does new construction. New construction prices are creeping up for sure. I think you'd be lucky in good areas to get anywhere lower than 3,000 per square meter. I think 35 is becoming normal. They're starting to ask for 4,000 a square meter, but it also depends on the area. If you're closer to downtown, the further you get away, you'll find some really nice developments that are happening. Especially if you need a car, but you'll find some really nice developments that are happening outside of the city proper. And there you can get amazing value for money. I think a lot of Portuguese will tell you that as well.
Size is something to take into consideration. And then when you get in on the project as well, if the project is if in its infancy, then you get a better deal.
Discounts.
Yeah. Then if it's practically finished and there's a few more units that need to be sold, right?
Yep. Renee has a question.
Renee, that is really good to hear. I have asthma, so the hills would not be fun for me. I would have to avoid those areas.
Yeah, and you can do that. I mean, there are some flat areas in Lisbon. There are flat areas in Porto. So if you're looking for flat areas in Lisbon, I would recommend Estrela. Certainly more towards the water.
Just the water
is flatter.
Yeah.
The deeper you go back, the hillier it gets. So towards the water is flatter. Campo do Rique, Avenidas Novas, and Parque das Nações. And when we say Avenidas Novas, the whole area of Avenidas Novas, which is Saldanha and a few of the others. Yeah, so
there are definitely flatter areas in Lisbon, and then same in Porto. Yeah. For us, it's Marques is pretty flat. Certain parts of Boa Vista.
Really just avoid Baixa, Bairro Alto, Chiado.
In Lisbon.
Mm-hmm. Those are quite hilly.
Estrela does have
Estrela does, yeah. Closer once you get towards the city center. Yeah. Pushing further west, it starts to kind of level out a bit more. No, I mean, you're right. It's
there's that one hill that's if you're down by the water, it's flat. But if you're going to the northern part, so there's the gardens. Yeah. Estrela Gardens are in the northern part of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
If you're walking from the water area there, you are going it's a straight uphill. It's a nice street though. It's different than being downtown or down in the touristy center area, because it's bigger streets, bigger sidewalks, newer. But it is still that, climb.
I kind of take back what I said. So
about Estrela being
there's like a spot. There's a street that's
down by the water. Yeah. But other than that, it's this uphill. Okay. Oh, this is a good question. How far is Setúbal from Lisbon?
I'm gonna guess we're talking about not by the crow flies, but by transportation. So if you're driving, it really depends on the traffic on the bridges. But I think 30 to 35 minutes.
If you're driving and there's no traffic.
Depending if there's no traffic. The train might take you an hour, especially depending on how far away you are from the train station. Representing Porto. And then where you want to go. And then you have the bus option, which I think is anywhere between 45 minutes and an hour. Again, depending on traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not super easy to get to, I would say. I mean, you do obviously have driving and train, but you don't just pop in and out of Lisbon from Setúbal regularly, I would say.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, some people, I suppose, will do it for work, but it's a bit of a commute.
Yeah. Okay.
Any landing spots between Porto and Lisbon near a beach? Oh.
What does landing spot mean? Are we talking about like the first place to live for like 6 months to a year? Is that what we're talking about? What do you think that means?
Yeah, to land. Yeah, I would think so.
I mean, it depends on your price range, but for sure, both places have good landing spots. I mean, if you want to live in Foz, if you want to live on the coast of Vila Nova de Gaia or Matosinhos,
they're saying between Porto and Lisbon near the beach. So between Lisbon and Porto along the coast, like the Silver Coast area.
Wow, the whole Silver Coast is a beach.
Yeah, there's a lot. Nazaré is becoming more popular.
Nazaré, Ericeira. It depends on lifestyle, though. Nazaré, Ericeira.
Because there's a lot of little towns as well that people are starting to like.
Figueira da Foz. There are a couple that I'm drawing a blank on right now.
Like where? Like Caldas.
Not Caldas. Really it's not on the water, but
it's not beachy.
But like, what's next to Caldas? I'm drawing a blank on that.
I don't know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Peniche.
No, but along along the Silver Coast, there are plenty of spots. I think the expat community there is quite good.
Where?
As long as you get plugged in anywhere along the Silver Coast, you will have to maybe travel to meetups and to get to know kind of the larger group.
Some of them will require a car as well. Like Nazaré, for example, it's just better to have a car because you go down into it along the water. So getting in and out isn't as convenient, obviously, as being in a city. But there are a lot of good spots along the Silver Coast. Again, a lot of it just depends on preference, right? How big of a place you're looking, if you want a car, things like that.
Yep. We got a super chat.
Ooh, hi. Okay, are you aware of any travel restrictions for U.S. travelers now? Also, any suggestions for converting U.S. COVID card to EU digital certificate?
Well, we just had to look up the first thing.
Yes, because Josh's family is coming. So I've been looking at it. And that's why I spoke to 2 people who got here within the last week, because at the end of April, a lot of the restrictions lifted. So they did away with the passenger locator form. You don't need that. However, it still appears that you need a COVID test to get into Portugal. How strict they are when you arrive seems to be whoever you get, but it does seem like they should ask you when you arrive. Some people have had to enter put the test as part of their check-in process, depending on what airline you're doing.
Yep.
So that's already entered electronically. But it does seem like Portugal is still requiring a test to get in. It is the antigen test within 24 hours or the PCR within 72 hours of boarding your flight. Now that could change. They're constantly meeting and changing things now.
Yeah.
So that could be different in a week, in 2 weeks. So yeah.
And then switching the card to the EU digital certificate, that takes a little more doing. I mean, you can do it when you get here.
Well, especially once you finalize your residency, then you can.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can actually do it until you have proof of residency in an EU country.
But right now, you don't really need it.
No, you don't need it for
You're not restricted going in places.
The only thing it would profit you is to travel around Europe, and if some of the countries require a test, if for us, like if you have the EU vaccine, then you don't have to have a test because you have the EU digital certificate. But for going into places or anything like that, it's not being required for anything. That's been dropped for a bit.
Yep.
Good questions though.
My guy, here we go. dropping me a compliment.
You want me to read it?
You dropped that.
Josh's Portuguese seems much better. I easily understood the places you mentioned. How is Kalie doing on her lessons?
How you doing on your lessons, Kalie?
It's been a little tough,
It's been really tough, actually, because we've been so out of routine, traveling around the country and filming. And it's been hard to stay on our lessons. I got back into them this week. Kalie?
I have not yet. I need to. I just have a lot of stuff stacked up that I'm trying to get through before Josh's family comes.
Yeah.
But I need to. I'm still speaking out, like when we go to restaurants and stuff, I'm still speaking, but I need to get back into it.
Katie Ray chimed in on the question about where to land between Lisbon and Porto, and it looks like Figueira da Foz gets a shout out, and then also Peniche.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we know that like the rent in Figueira de Foz is very reasonable. We know someone who's renting a 1-bedroom for $350 there right now. Okay, Emily, what's the best way to get between Lisbon and Porto with a family of 4? Is renting a car difficult with a U.S. driver's license?
Oh, I'd say train.
Train is going to be easier and probably more cost effective because
Tamara says train as well.
Yeah, train. You can rent a car easily with the U.S. license. Your U.S. license and your passport, and you can rent a car. However, the drive, the traffic, the gas, the tolls will be a lot. So train is easy. You don't have to think about it. You can book your tickets online. You can go and book them at the train station. And yeah, you just jump on and you enjoy the ride. So I would say train over driving.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'm still waiting for some more questions to come in the chat. Let's talk real quickly about the language situation, since we just had that comment from Evo. I felt like in Lisbon, and we've talked a bit about this before, but I felt like in Lisbon, even more this time than other times, it was difficult to practice my Portuguese on the streets. I mean, maybe I would stumble through saying something and people would just automatically switch to English. But then there were also other times where I was speaking Portuguese to a non-Portuguese speaker. Yeah. So then they would switch to English because English was either their first language or their second languge.
Yeah.
That makes sense. First, second language. Common
language. Yeah. I found that really difficult. In Lisbon, everyone speaks English there. So it's like really hard it's kind of almost like, what's the point?
But you're also playing tourist.
Yeah. When you're there. When we were there, you mean tourist?
Yeah. Like you feel like, it's not my city. I'm not going to see this person again or whatever it is. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, was that the mentality you have?
Not really, but maybe it actually was when it just happened. Right. I don't know.
I tried, but it didn't always work out for me. So that would be a caution. If you have a big desire to go to either city, if you have a big desire to learn Portuguese and master it, it will be more challenging in Lisbon and Porto. It will be less challenging in Porto. Yeah. I think more people will give you that time to get out the sentence you need to in Portuguese. Whereas I don't think that you're afforded that time in Lisbon.
And I would say that there are places that are quite central in Porto that are a little hole in the wall places that they don't speak English, or not everyone there speaks English. So you kind of could come across an older person at a restaurant who doesn't speak English. So you're forced to work on it. Whereas it seemed like a lot of places in Lisbon, most places, even the hole in the wall places, there was some level of English. So it's like, all right, it's easy to just do that then. Hi.
Hey, good to see you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh.
We have a super sticker.
Oh, wait. My thing just jumped. Super sticker. Thank you so much, Sharon. That's awesome.
Good to see you on here and then go down. What are you doing?
Why? Oh.
There's a
super chat. Super chat.
Super chat. Okay, moving to Portugal this year. Thank you for all your helpful content. How do you keep in shape with all the tasty food there? That is so funny that you asked that because
we got a hate comment.
You want me to do it? So on the Central video, someone actually commented on, obviously making a joke, but said like, "Oh, it looks like you're enjoying the pastries or something."
The pastel de nata.
Yeah, pastel de nata in Lisbon, because you guys have gained weight. And
it's true.
That's what I think has made it harder is we
talking
about how we
made it softer.
Weight.
It made it softer for me. I was like,
you already knew.
Yeah. I believe the kids say, or they used to say, "Real recognize real."
Oh.
So it was true. Like
we had already talked about we'd gained so much weight in Lisbon. It's harder when you're not cooking as much for yourself. Even though we walked everywhere, I don't know. It just seemed different. I feel like now that we're back in Porto, like I'm walking everywhere as well, but I feel better just being out. I don't know what it is. And obviously we've gotten back into like the gym and cooking and everything, and going out a bit, but, yeah. So how do we keep in shape? You have
your routine, like make sure that you get in a healthy fitness routine. This is something that I talk about in the course that we just put out. Be careful with tricking yourself thinking like, oh, I'm walking everywhere, I'm walking a lot. and that's good enough, because it's really probably not, because as adults, we need our heart rate still to rise, to work on our cardiovascular health. And yeah, the hills do help for sure, but I think it would be important to also raise the heart rate up by going to the gym or going on a run or a cycle or something like that
for a longer amount of time.
For a longer amount of time. And then also weight training is great. It's great for the body, whether it's weight training or calisthenics or something, but resistance training is great.
Yeah,
I don't want to belabor this point because this is getting a little off track.
Well, two things I want to say about that, but you will, go on your hills, but you'll stop for a pastry or a beer or wine. Yeah. So yeah, you're like, okay, I've walked halfway up this really big hill, but then you're stopping, right? But the other thing I was going to say is Josh mentioned that we recently put out a new course that we're really excited about, because a lot of people have been asking, we have our DIY D7 course, and people would be so excited. They get all the stuff, they do, the visas, they get their visas, and then they get to Portugal and they'd realize, oh, I was so focused on getting my visa that now I'm here and I haven't thought about, how do I do all these things? How do I get something delivered if I want? How do I get my SNS, or how do I register with the Freguesia? All of these things. It's like, oh, now that I'm here, I need to know how to do. So we launched a living in Portugal guide, I guess.
Yeah, it's a guide. It's not really a course. I mean, it's laid out like a course, but. Yeah.
But it's a living in Portugal guide of all these different things that, we encountered, that we have friends who have encountered. And so we asked a lot, like, well, how was this when you did it? Did you need help with this? And that's something that once you purchase it, it's yours for life. And I will constantly be adding to it. So as we get feedback on, oh, what about this? Then I will add that. It's got links, it's got recommendations, it's got prices for things, it's got where to go for things, how to do things, depending, and it's for all of Portugal, not just Porto or Lisbon.
Yeah, let me throw this out here, because I'm working on StreamYard, and apparently the tab that I had made didn't save. So we have created a promo code for the course, and you can find the link in the description section. And the course is regular $79. But for the first 30 people who sign up, it's going to be $30 off. So it'll be $49. And we only have 6 of those left. So 6 more codes to be redeemed. The code is FIRST30. So that's the word first and then the number 30.
Yeah, did you want to
I'll type that out? But let's jump to some questions.
I didn't put that in the description either, the code. So.
No problem.
Yeah, so first.
You wouldn't
first
have.
30.
We got a little super sticker there.
Super sticker. Thank you.
Awesome.
All right. So a few other questions that we see comparing Lisbon and Porto.
I'm trying to find it. I'm lost.
Bouncing around.
I'm so lost.
There's a question.
I think this is kind of a question that we were going to touch on before the super chat.
Where would you suggest a single 50+ woman spending 3 months in Portugal? Oof. It really depends on what you're looking for, like what you want to do. Do you want to be by the beach? Do you want to be in a slower paced area? Do you want to be in a city? Because the cities, especially Lisbon and Porto, there are plenty of 50+ women who are here. And in Lisbon, I know there's actually a group called, I think it's like single 50+ women, something like that. So
I know a few guys in it.
So there's an actual group there. I don't know of a group.
They're trying not to be single anymore.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's actually, I guess, a good place to find.
You know where to find them
ladies. And I think there's, they exist obviously in Porto as well. So it kind of depends on what you're looking for. Slower pace kind of thing. Maybe you go down to the Algarve, one of those areas, but it really just depends on what you want to do for 3 months. And you might actually, I'd say, move around. You don't want to be in one place for 3 months, honestly.
Yeah. Christy, I skipped your question, but we'll come back to it.
Renee, are you noticing the rents are going up in Porto as much as in Lisbon? You can answer that.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. I haven't checked recently, like within the past month, but I think the Porto rents by percentage might be climbing higher, or faster rather, than Lisbon. The interesting thing I want to comment on this is when we were in Lisbon, we were really working hard to try to find rental properties to visit, to show you guys. And there were some deals people were getting. Like, I was like, man, if you put this in Porto, it would probably go for about the same. But I do think overall, Lisbon is more expensive for rent than Porto. I mean, I think that the data shows that. But Porto prices are climbing fast.
Lisbon has more space as well. So, I mean, just more areas that you can rent, as opposed to Porto. As soon as you get outside of kind of the ring, I guess, it's a little harder to stay connected, whereas there's more opportunity, I think, in Lisbon. What are you laughing about?
I'm laughing about Eric's comment we'll get to in a second.
All right. Super chat. I was going to say super sticker. No wasting the small fortune on beer, Josh. It's all going to see as pastry. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
She does love it.
We'll throw Sia's little emoji. Would that be an emoji? I don't know. Logo.
But generally, when we go to a pastry shop now, she will ask for a croissant or a pastel. Yeah. Those are her two favorites.
We're trying to get her to say simplish, but yeah, we're working on that. So like a regular croissant.
Getting there.
As opposed to the chocolate croissants.
No, she says chocolate croissant.
Yeah. Chocolate croissant. Yeah. Okay, so this question was, any more thoughts on Porto versus Lisbon? And I threw the on in there. More thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts actually on Porto and Lisbon. I felt like the atmosphere in Lisbon overall was just busier, like was more crowded and busier. It might not seem like that with all of the honking and stuff going on outside. You guys probably can't hear that because our mic is decent. But man, it was crazy, the energy. And when we arrived back in Porto and we arrived at Campanhã station, it just felt like we were home. It was busy there, at the station. It wasn't chaotic. It wasn't chaotic.
Yeah.
And it felt calm, and I like that.
I'll say this. As soon as we got to Lisbon, we were staying in a very central area. Not in Chiado, but where was that first place? It was very central. And as we took
Bairro Alto.
Okay, we took an Uber or Bolt, can't remember, from the train station there. And as we were driving through, I just was like, ugh, Lisbon, But as soon as we left that area, I think the very next place we went to stay was Avenidas Novas to get an idea of that area. And as soon as we drove into that area, I was like, I like this. Like, this is more livable. It's where I would want to be. Yep. And I actually really enjoyed that area. So there are just so many areas of Lisbon, and depending on what you're looking for, you could probably find it. But yeah, I just was like, at first with Lisbon, I was like, oh, here we are in Lisbon. But I did enjoy some of the other neighborhoods that Lisbon had to offer that I hadn't been to before.
Yeah.
So there was that.
Yeah. This is one real quick. That's not necessarily on Porto or Lisbon, but we can address it.
Okay. Do you know anyone who has had success using a converter for U.S. kitchen appliances? All right, Julie. It really depends on the voltage that's being used.
Yeah.
Because
and I'm going to go with Aardvark's statement right here, which is cheaper. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's possible too that like you bring something nice,
you can blow it.
And yeah, we've been there.
Yep.
So there are converters that are good. But yeah, you can find everything you need here. So it makes more sense. Then you don't even have to bother with the converter, like a hair straightener and stuff. All that I just went ahead and got here.
All right. So Eric is talking about the pandemonium outside because of this.
Because of
FC Porto. So again, FC Porto, if you guys have just joined, FC Porto has won the league here in Portugal. Big deal. They did it at their rivals, Benfica, which is located where?
In Lisbon. So this applies. We can talk about it on this chat.
We can. Absolutely. That's why I popped it up there.
So it is crazy. Oh, and that is why, well, one of the reasons why I'm representing.
Yeah, I'm not representing because I've gained weight. So I had a whiskey earlier, which
I had a good workout
has less calories. I worked out too.
But I said I had a good workout.
I got a lot of weight to lose.
Right.
This isn't necessarily about.
Ooh, it's central. Are we doing that? Because it's supposed to be Lisbon versus Porto.
Well, we'll read it real quick. We'll go.
Hello, Josh and Kalie. What do you think or know about Central Portugal, Castelo Branco, por ejemplo? Or is it? Well, por ejemplo would be Spanish. Yeah. I've been watching a couple of YouTubers there. Sorry, I have a cough.
What do we think about Central? I think Central's great. I think there's a lot of value there, cheaper cost of living. We've not been to Castelo Branco, but yeah, I'd like to go there. I'd like to visit. But yeah, I think Central's great. Gosh, if I'm trying to compare it between Porto and Lisbon, I think
Really small.
I think really Porto and Lisbon are the two sizes that I want to live in. Maybe less so Lisbon because it's so big. Porto is the perfect size for me. Braga, it starts to feel small, and then Coimbra, I don't know. I think the problem with Central for me and my lifestyle, and you might love it, is just the size and the kind of city amenities and the world events and things like that. I think are missing.
But there are some really beautiful places in Central. Like I really liked Tomar. I thought it was a bit magical in a sense. This little downtown area was really cute. It had a really nice botanical gardens there. There were some little like park waterfalls, but it was small. So it's a bit more like living in a town, but not like a village. Let's say that. So it's in between, I guess.
Yep.
But lots to offer in Central as well.
So I think Tamara's asking you so Lisbon is your love.
You would be asking, Tamara. Porto is still my love, but
we definitely grew to appreciate Lisbon more, and there are spots that we would live.
I would say there are spots in Lisbon I would be fine never going back to, but there are parts of Lisbon that I would go back to. If that makes sense.
Okay.
I'm not gonna like throw it out there. Maybe you got to watch some of our videos to see because we're getting ready to put that stuff out. So you have to see which neighborhoods with our ratings that we would live in, because that's the other thing. We're going to rate them on whether we would live there, and we haven't talked about this. So that's always a fun one to see how we differ. But I think we tend to be similar.
I think we will differ on some of these for sure.
We definitely will.
Then there'll be some where I think they'll both be very high numbers.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep rolling. So you can.
Okay. Have you spent any time in Alcantara? Did I say that right?
I think so. It sounds good.
Alcantara.
Yeah. So
Evo, let me know.
Evo, please. We didn't stay there. We didn't have an Airbnb or hotel there, but we did obviously pass through there a couple of times just because its location is still in the city center. But don't have any deep opinions on it. Not yet.
Yeah.
I would say maybe Dan and Michelle would have a better opinion.
From Honeymoon Always.
Yep, Honeymoon Always. Liz would talk the streets. Even hit up Leo from Portuguese with Leo, although he's a busy man. I think those guys that are living more locally would be able to tell you. Or Sofian with
Weave the
Story, but he might have changed his channel name. But
did he?
Maybe. Anyways, check out Sofian. He might be able to give you an interesting perspective. And then also Honeymoon Always.
What do you use?
What? Sorry. This? Did we miss this?
Yeah, super sticker. And then down
and we've got this and
Super chat. All right. Simon, hi, Josh and Kalie. Moving to Nazaré this autumn, but I'm really surprised by the high rental prices for a T2 or T3, 1,500 to 2,000 euros a month. Oof. Lack of long-term rentals. Any ideas, please? Thanks.
Yeah. Nice, Kalie.
Yeah, I know.
It's that super bot.
I know, that super bot. So I think that's a problem that we're seeing in a lot of places because of the lack of long-term rentals.
Mm-hmm.
Prices are high for what there is. It depends on where you are in Nazaré as well, right? It's going to be more expensive, I think, up higher on that cliff area because there are some really nice places up there. But if you move out a little further from the beach, maybe you can find something. Yeah,
definitely. And I think Antonio says this as well: tourist area, tourist prices, or touristic. But I think my kind of solution would be to connect with a buyer's agent. So someone that can help you be like a location scout. If you want some recommendations, we know 3 location scouts. So if you want to email me at contact@expatseverywhere.com, I can make the introductions for you. Those people will charge an upfront, not an upfront cost. One of them charges an upfront cost, but they will essentially charge you once you find a place or once they find a place for you. Yeah.
That's probably a good option because they can get in there and actually they're on the ground for you. Because sometimes with Idealista, you don't know what you're going to get and stuff goes quickly. So that's probably a good option. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that one's new too.
Oh man, you guys are amazing with the super something,
stickers
super
and
sticker.
Chats and thank you. Okay, back to some questions.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I saw a funny one right here from Evo. So, how close are we to Aliados in Porto? The noise must be insane. Well, the noise is insane. We are 2 blocks-ish from Aliados, 2.5. We're just around the corner from Trinidad Station. And from Trinidad Station, it will lead you down into Aliados. Which I think that if I can,
where all those cars are going.
if I can convince Eric after the live stream ends, if I can convince him to head out to the streets so that we can see what is happening with this Porto celebration, I want to see it, because we're not going to be here next week when the league finishes, and then they'll have a parade and the fans will go mad back down in Aliados.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll be traveling with Josh's family, so yeah, it's pretty loud. I mean, for us.
Okay.
He is finally asleep though.
So Christy smoothly transitions into the question of, speaking of noise, I live in New York City, and in the last 2 years, the noise from traffic is insane. It's interesting. Do you hear much constant traffic noise there? And is Porto or Lisbon better in that regard? So we stayed in a few places in Lisbon where the traffic noise wasn't bad, but either the drunk tourist on the streets was bad, or the overhead planes in the flight path were bad, but not necessarily inside for that one. Inside, if you have good windows, should be able to block out most of the noise. Yeah. Thoughts?
But if you are central in Lisbon, then you will get a lot of the bars, the music. The music is loud, and some places 4 or 5 a.m. and then the people. So depending on where you are there, and then you're at the flight path. That was something that was kind of surprising. And then in Porto, there are places that traffic is busy, and you will hear traffic or sirens. Some of the main streets, if you have ambulances, or if you're near a hospital, you'll hear the ambulances and such go by. So it depends on where you are in each, but I think each of them has issues with noise.
Yeah.
Just different types of noise.
Yeah, for sure.
So you'll have to choose your neighborhood wisely in that sense.
I think this is a good question that I haven't really thought about, so I might have to answer on the spot. But which parts of Lisbon we wouldn't go back to?
Yeah, I know.
What?
Chiado and Bairro Alto, like
whole
area.
I mean, you would go back to visit.
I would be fine not going back. I said earlier there are places that I would not go back, and
okay.
I mean, we've seen it several times now.
Yeah,
it's not easy with all the people and the stroller and the traffic, because you have narrow sidewalks and lots of traffic and cobblestones and stairs, and just, to me, I've seen it a lot, so I'm okay not going back to it.
Yeah, no, I think my answer to that would be, I would not stay there again. I would not rent an Airbnb or stay in a hotel down there again. Nope.
Yeah, it's too noisy.
I mean,
people noise.
As the most downtown I want to be is on Avenida, right?
Liberdade.
Right? Liberdade?
Yeah.
Avenida Liberdade. But what's the metro stop?
Oh, Avenida is
Avenida,
the name
right?
of the metro
okay,
stop,
that was what was in my head. But Avenida de Liberdade is the street. That's, I think, pretty downtown, but it's organized. The street traffic's not bad, so I would still do that as downtown.
Yeah, I would too, but I'd rather stay somewhere else. Like I'd rather stay somewhere else.
Ted, thank you much for signing up for the course.
Oh yeah,
awesome. Did you get that discount?
Hopefully.
First 30.
Yes, let us know when you're here. Okay. Planning to go to Lisbon and Algarve in August. Any tips on where to stay? Affordable Airbnbs. I don't know if affordable Airbnbs in August exist here.
Yeah,
that's the problem. It'll be busy. I think August is one of the busiest in Algarve. I mean, Portuguese and Spanish go down to Algarve. So it'll be busy. It'll be crazy. You'll get to see all the people down there.
I don't have any hot tips for Airbnb, honestly. I really don't. I think truly you should probably check around at hotels as well, because there are often times where a hotel will be cheaper than an Airbnb.
But if you're going to do Airbnb, booking earlier rather than later is going to be your best option. So if you kind of know an area you want to stay, start booking. But there will be places, like you said, that hotels are better, cheaper.
It's a great question right here. We've never gotten this question, so I appreciate it. So how are tattoos viewed in Porto? My arms are covered. Will I get the same gruff as I have in the US? How about on women? My wife has a ton as well. I think that tattoos are so normalized here.
No one will.
It's a little difficult for us to say definitively because we're not tatted up, but I see tattoos all over the place.
Men and women.
Men and women, young and old. I don't think it'd be much of an issue. I mean, face tattoos.
Yeah, maybe something that's a little more extreme looking like that.
But maybe anywhere from your kind of collarbone down, I don't think is going to be any. Maybe people will turn their heads to appreciate your tattoo rather than scoff at it.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually thinking about this maybe about a week ago, that I've seen actually a lot of women with full-on arm tattoos.
Yeah.
And it seems very not common, but it's normal to see here.
Well, we have a local that's saying as much.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. Yeah. Debate solved. Paolo, thank you.
Was it a debate?
No. And Eric says on it. So we're headed to Aliados once this wraps up. We're not wrapping up yet. Do not click away unless you hit the like, subscribe, and do all the things. I'm just kidding. We're going to keep going. Go ahead.
Staying in Lisbon near the Marques de Pombal metro area was my favorite. Yeah, it's a little
nice
tamer down, like in that area for sure. A little more open too, which is nice. That's what I definitely prefer.
Yep. And Katie says, seems like hotels are cheaper to me.
Airbnb's gotten a little crazy with their prices.
People
like,
get
too
bold.
Much. Yeah.
Bold.
Like, especially when you book it and then you go in it and you're like, really? This?
This is a great comment right here. So Portuguese expats are in the millions. So in the summer, the Algarve region is especially packed. So that means that people that have moved, Portuguese people that have moved away, are then coming back, and they're coming back to Algarve to do vacation.
It's busy in the summer.
It's busy. Woohoo! Got that first 30 discount. So that means
there's
5 left. Oh man, that's funny. Okay, here we go.
If not Porto, where would you guys be? I think we got that question when we did the all over Portugal last summer when we traveled a bit.
If money is not a thing, like, because we're not rolling in the dough, guys. We're not. If money's not a thing, then I think it would be Lisbon for me. I think that now, after this trip, I think that there are certain neighborhoods in Lisbon. We have a good group of friends in Lisbon too that I would like to spend more time with. So if Porto simply doesn't exist, then I think Lisbon for me.
Where in Lisbon?
I'm not going to say that. They got to watch the series.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think we both definitely rule out Algarve for us. It's just not for us. And if Porto didn't exist, at one point we talked about Braga, but Braga might be too small, I would think. And there are some other areas that are nice along the water, but there are parts of Lisbon that it would probably be Lisbon.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess if money's not a thing too.
But it is a thing. That's the problem. Money is a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Christine, my research has been on Ilista, but it seems renovations of apartments in older buildings, both Lisbon and Porto, strip out charming period details. All is uber modern. Is that your experience? Yeah, I would say renovations. If your renovations for rentals will, especially in Porto, it's kind of like you're walking into IKEA. We were just talking with some friends about that. Hey guys. But if it's been renovated, they don't tend to keep some of that old charm in the rental. You're giving this face like you disagree, but think about if it's been renovated.
Let me talk.
If it's been renovated, they don't keep anything that's.
I think here's the thing, because we've started this process with the Vertical Community Venture, which is a series. I don't know if you guys know all this stuff about us. I'm not going to assume that you do. So we've started this series where we're on episode 3. Episode 4 drops this coming week. So we've started a series where we're actually looking for a building in Porto to buy. And we want to buy one of these charming buildings. We want to renovate it. And we want to have that charm both on the outside and the inside. And going through this process and actually looking at these buildings and the condition they're in, the cost to salvage some of the stuff, like you need a specialist to salvage some of the ceiling works and other features, some of the woodworks, and it's really expensive.
Not worth it then?
So like saying that stuff is being stripped out or stripped out the charming period details, it's a little hard. Like I don't think people are doing it intentionally because they don't want it. Exactly. It's because it's just cost prohibitive. It's really expensive
Some
to
of
keep
it's
that
so
stuff.
old, I guess, and like
Oh,
keeping it is harder.
I have seen some stuff that is just falling in.
Yeah.
These ceilings that are just
maybe just impossible
crumbling.
to keep it. Or it's like, why are you renovating if you're keeping something that is not sturdy or not, I don't know, smells funny, or you know what I mean? The elements have, you know, like not maybe moldy or something, or falling apart, or the elements have been too harsh on it, so it's too hard to keep it.
Yeah, I think that in the project that we do, whatever we find, we are going to try our best to keep those period elements that you're talking about, because we do champion that stuff. We think it's awesome. We will have some modern stuff in it for sure. Yeah.
But a lot of short-term rentals, they're just going to fully renovate it.
They're looking for the money.
Yeah, they don't keep that charm.
Yeah. This is a great question, talking about how busy are the cities. We're talking about Porto and Lisbon in September versus August. It's starting to die down for sure in September.
There's a noticeable difference.
Mid-September and on, it's a lot calmer, I think.
Yeah, there's a noticeable difference. It's still busy.
Tourism.
It's a good time to travel.
Yeah, tourism is back though. Like,
oh yeah,
it's back.
Yeah, it's just gonna get crazier too, since we're just in May, right?
So we have Antonio saying that Lisbon is usually almost empty in August. That's interesting. That's actually very similar to Madrid. It's like all of the Madrileños in Madrid will leave in, I think it's July though, right? Is that the hottest month?
No, it's August.
Is it August? August the same.
Yeah.
So it's like they leave the city. Yeah, it's so hot. They go do different things. So yeah, maybe Lisbon is the same.
But yeah,
but
hot.
But Porto is busy. Yeah. Yeah.
Read this?
Yeah, read it. Go ahead.
Okay. From what I've seen, the building facade is often kept, but the guts of the building are stripped out and rebuilt. The good part is that the buildings should be more up to code and just plumbing's fixed, insulation is fixed, better windows. So just things that are more of a necessity now, so you don't run into problems a few months in. So
yeah.
All right. I think we're good then. You're going to go out and see what's going on
I think I should. I think that we've kind of really broken down how we feel about Porto and Lisbon, and we try to answer your all's questions as best as possible. We have tons of useful links in the description section. And again, before you slide out of this, all 142 you beautiful people that are interested in Portugal, we just ask that you hit the like button and subscribe if you're not subscribed, because we're trying to grow the channel. We really want to hit 50K ASAP. We want to give a big shout out to FC Porto. Let the haters hate. Shout out to Superbach. Yeah. We're drinking it. They're not paying us for it.
I know.
And then we have a couple discounts left. I think 5 discounts left for the brand new course / guide that we put out. First 30 is that discount code. The link is in the description section below. We've loved spending this 45 minutes, 50 minutes with you. So
yeah, I would say one last thing too is since we were in Lisbon for a whole month, we've got a lot of content that we're getting ready to put out for you guys. So be on the lookout for stuff about Lisbon. Be on the lookout for us as we're looking for a building here in Porto to buy and renovate and all of that stuff. So a lot of fun content that we have going on the channel, along with the new course that we put out.
That's right. Now, you guys know what time it is. Let's get moving.
Bye.